Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. The current long range meta here in Warzone Season 5 honestly is pretty competitive. You've got some solid low recoil options, some high damage options, some great sniping choices as well. And so today, I wanted to go through and break down the new best long range weapons and meta loadouts that you want to be using. Starting first with a do-it-all rifle, the GPR-91. This is going to be one of the most straightforward and effective options we've got in the game. Typically, lower recoil, easy to use weapons are going to have a slower TTK, and it's not to say this is like the fastest in the world by any means, but it's going to be incredibly competitive basically at all ranges here, while also being incredibly easy to use. So first up here for the optic, it's really a matter of preference. I'm rocking the Willis 3 times in this case. I'll switch between this Volsky Reflex and Oturo Red Dot, the Jason Armory 2 times. Use whatever optic you're comfortable with here. Monolithic suppressor is a must-have. I also pair this with reinforced barrel, so we're doubling up on added damage range and velocity. We end up with a 1209 velocity and a 50-meter effective damage range. Fantastic numbers there for any long-range based weapon. Vertical foregrip attacks. That horizontal control makes this weapon a lot more predictable and easy to use overall. And then we got extended 2 on here, a 60 rounder that'll work fine for all squad sizes. Pretty basic rifle setup, but it gets the job done. Next up, the Cypher is going to be very similar in a lot of ways to the GPR. Low recoil, do-it-all rifle, incredibly versatile, has a case for being the single best rifle and long range gun in the game right now, quite frankly. This time I'm going for a gunfighter based loadout. In this case, I do rock the Oturo Red Dot on there, feeling nice and accurate with that scope. Monolithic suppressor yet again, and reinforced barrel. So we end up with a 52-meter effective damage range, and because I do go ahead and stack on overpressured ammo on here, we also have a 1486 velocity, which quite frankly is super overkill. You don't need to have that for big map. It's so much fun though. You could also go recoil springs, and this thing would be a laser beam, and you still got a 1238 velocity, so you can't go wrong with either of those there. I do also go for the vertical foregrip once more to make the gun a lot more predictable with that horizontal recoil. Extended to another 60 rounder, so we're fine there. Quick draw rear grip for that faster ADS, just makes it a little bit more agile and aggressive there. And then infiltrator stock for the better strafe, just feels so good on rifles when you can bob and weave back and forth while also ADSing and putting damage out onto the enemies there. So Cypher, it is the probably most reliable choice in the game right now. Thing is just a beast. Next up, the AMAX. This is like the opposite of the first two guns we've talked about. Instead of being low recoil and decent TTK, this thing is a little bit more noticeable recoil but has a crazy TTK. The damage output here is balanced out by having that more noticeable kick. It's not to say this thing is too difficult to use. You can learn it, and especially with this setup, it's a lot more low recoil than it could be because of how we attack certain things. So it's honestly pretty solid here once you get used to that recoil pattern. Oturo Red Dot again, for me, just based off of preference. You could either go monolithic or compensator here. If you really need to focus on the control, compensator is never a bad choice. I'm comfortable with it enough though that I can use monolithic in some long range engagements. And again, I stack that with the reinforced barrel for a 1320 velo and nearly a 70-meter effective damage range. Just so good there. Vertical foregrip absolutely necessary here for the control benefits. Extended to another 60 rounder, that works fine. Might as well throw on quick draw for that better ADS and infiltrator stock for that better strafe. You definitely have to use recoil springs here though. No real need to use overpressured. You want to make sure you're as accurate as you can be. And if you're going and stacking recoil springs, vertical foregrip, and compensator, this thing's going to be even easier than just this base setup here. So mess around, see what you're comfortable with and what feels the best for you. Either way, the AMAX is going to shred. And by the way, as we are breaking down all the weapons, all the setups here today, if you guys enjoy the video, you find the info helpful, be sure to drop a like on it. And of course, if you're new here, you want to guarantee you're always up to date with all things going on in COD, news, updates, meta breakdowns. It's all right here, so feel free to hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications. The ABR, our AUG, is back here in Season 5, and this thing is a laser beam. It's got high velocity, super low recoil. Its TTK is, again, not going to be through the roof fast, but it's so easy to use that competitively speaking, when you factor in accuracy in gunfights, this is going to be a really reliable choice. You just got to be comfortable with that burst feel. It's obviously very different from a full auto gun, but not difficult to use. You can just hold down the trigger and it'll spray and pray, and you can spam that there. So surprise, I know we're rocking monolithic and reinforced barrel. It's almost like this is the go-to combo for long range here. 1267 velocity, 60-meter effective damage range on there. Vertical foregrip just makes this recoil pattern super tight and about as laser accurate as you can get on a gun here. Extended to another 60 rounder, so no worries there with that DPM. And then again, I really do enjoy using infiltrator pad on a lot of my rifles for that added strafe speed. Just makes them feel a lot more aggressive in gunfights, so I'm always kind of opting for that. You could switch that out though if you want to go for something a little bit more slow but also effective. Overpressured ammo, get over a 1500 velo. Like, you could get some pretty crazy builds here for sure and mess around with some replacements there, but this has been really reliable for me so far. Now, of course, last season the GRAU was the #1 rifle, probably the #1 long range gun. It's not #1 anymore, but it's still in the conversation just because it's so easy to use. This is another case where its TTK on paper is not going to look that flashy. It's not going to be the fastest, but when you factor in accuracy and you're not looking at 100% accurate TTK charts, this is going to be in application really competitive still because it's so easy to use and so straightforward here. So with the GRAU on the SWAT 556, we've obviously got that GRAU 556 conversion, the most important part of the entire setup there. Monolithic suppressor, this does stop us from using a barrel, so we don't have any stacking combination here. You still get over a 1200 velocity though, and nearly 42 meters for that effective damage range. Vertical foregrip, of course, helping out, making this gun a lot more predictable. The only extended mag option here is going to be your full auto 50, so of course we got to be rocking that. And then I know, shocking, infiltrator stock on here as well. Clean iron sights though, low recoil, good velocity. This will hold its own just fine, especially if you're already comfortable and familiar with the gun. Now, the general community loves the Kilo. It seems like players are always ranting and raving about the Kilo. It's not my personal preference just because I find the TTK to be a little bit too slow for my accuracy, but this thing is maybe the easiest gun to use in the game. Great velocity. Its TTK won't be crazy, but again, you factor in those shots and that accuracy, and realistically it'll actually be competitive enough, and players just really seem to enjoy the overall feel of this thing here, right? So again, I do go for Otero red dot, change it up as you see fit. Monolithic suppressor and reinforced barrel. We got a 1357 velocity just with those two on there, and nearly a 50 meter effective damage range as well. If you were to go for gunfighter and put on overpressured, you'd be absolutely insane with that velocity. 1629, just a wild hit scan range. I don't feel like you need 8 attachments on this thing though. Vertical foregrip and then extended 2 to close things out. 60 rounder here. I don't think you need the 80. That's a little bit too much for my liking. Slows it down a little bit too much as well. 60 is totally sufficient, and while not being a melt machine, it's going to be laser accurate, and in turn you're going to win a lot of gunfights with this because of that. Now, the XMG is just a flat out heavy hitter. This thing is slow, don't get me wrong. Like, this is the least aggressive option we've got on the list here today because it's an LMG, but you post up, you ADS, you shoot your 75 rounds or whatever we've got here, and you can fry over 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 meters. This thing is low recoil and it hits like a truck over the long range here. So again, Otero red dot, you can tell it's probably my favorite scope right now. Monolithic suppressor, reinforced barrel here, 1434 velocity, 118. Yes, that says 118 on your effective damage range here. Part of that velocity is also the fact that I do go for overpressured here. This thing is so easy to use, especially because we do have the rare case of the buffer weight stock being applicable here, so this helps out a ton with that horizontal and vertical control. I also go for the quick draw rear grip. It's an LMG, so I want to speed up that ADS any chance I can get, basically. Fast mag 1 is still 75 rounds, and it's going to at least make this a thing a little bit more agile, a little bit more aggressive. It's still heavy and slow, but it could be a lot worse. So then lastly, vertical foregrip, yet again, just stacking even more control on there. This thing is so low recoil, but so heavy hitting. It's that rare case of super easy to use and actually packs a punch as well. Then we got to round things out with our sniper metas in the long range. The HDR obviously being the most obvious one of them all. Infinite one-shot range, really good velocity still even after the Season 5 nerf. Here I'm going for monolithic, only care about the velocity here. The damage range stats don't matter when it's an infinite one-shot. Game twist barrel also stacking max velocity, and so is overpressured ammo. So we got an 1184 velo. That's still one of the best in class for snipers. The bullet drop and bullet lead is going to be super easy there. Quick draw rear grip to speed up that ADS, make it a little bit more aggressive. We're still at 615 because of the nerf, so it's not going to be the most agile sniper, but it's a long range sniper, so that's not a huge concern. Then lightweight bipod just helps out with the idle sway, makes it a lot easier to stay on target when you're not holding your breath in general. In case you run out of that, as you've been holding for too long, you can still stay on target pretty easy there. So the most reliable sniper in the game still, without a doubt. The Victus is also a great choice though. This as well can infinitely one-shot headshot. The velocity is a little bit worse. The feel's a little bit different than a BO6 sniper, but it's still a phenomenal choice, all things considered here. I don't like the default scope, so I go for the 6.6 times personally. Change that up however you see fit. Spirit fire suppressor for that better velocity. The super barrel for the better velocity also, helps out with that firing aim stability and whatnot there with the sway and everything if you need that. We got high velocity on here again, so we're stacking max velocity. Basically, we still only cap out at 994, which isn't terrible. There just are, better numbers out there, like on the HDR, for instance, but you just got to get used to the feel here. This doesn't make it that much worse, honestly. You just got to learn that bullet drop and bullet lead, and you'll be set. You can still knock players like crazy with this thing. I actually really enjoy using this. Rise 50 stock lastly on here just to speed up that ADS a little bit. It will be a tad bit more aggressive than the HDR for what it's worth, so a slightly, worse velocity, but also a little bit more snappy there at the same time. Interesting trade-off there, and a viable alternative. And then lastly, if you're just looking for something that's not infinite one-shot headshot but still feels really reliable, the buffed LR762 is a great choice as well. With this, as mentioned, it's not an infinite one-shot headshot, but it's a pretty generous range. Monolithic, the better added damage range here, does actually come into play, plus the velocity is obviously very important as well. Then long barrel for the extended damage range. So with this, you get a one-shot headshot within your effective damage range. In this case, it's basically 105 meters. That's going to cover so many gunfights you're realistically going to get into, so you'll be getting plenty of one-shot knocks with this thing on there. I do also go for overpressured ammo to help out that bullet drop and bullet lead. We got a 1269 velocity here. That's phenomenal, of course. Quick draw rear grip to speed things up. This will be a little bit faster than the HDR as well. And then fast mag 2 also plays into that ADS speed. It only knocks your mag size down by 1 as well. So 4 shots instead of 5. That's not a huge drop off because I mean, that's enough to knock an entire squad. You knock one, get that cleanup, you're good to go. You'll have time to reload as is. So this is another solid alternative as well if you're looking for something just to change things up. But overall, between low recoil choices, some solid rifles, some heavy hitters, some snipers, the long range meta has quite a few solid guns right now. That is going to wrap things up though. If you guys enjoyed the video, you found it helpful, be sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here, feel free to subscribe on your way out as well. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.